What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into X-Men issue number 21. This story has been following side by side with Captain Marvel. We have the invasion of the BROOD. And while Captain Marvel and her team, they are fighting in the far reaches of space, Jean, Magic, and the others, they have been investigating what is truly going on. And what has been going on is Nightmare. He has come back for his revenge. He is ensuing chaos. He has cut Broo off from the rest of the hive mind. And now our heroes, they struggle to take down these monsters. While this is going on, Penance and Forge, they find themselves at nowhere. Lost in space. Lost in a different universe. They struggle to return. And like I said in the other videos, my voice is a little bit messed up today, but we're gonna push through it. We're gonna get through this last comic for today so we can finish out our Marvel Comic Wednesdays. So make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up with Forge and Penance. Lost in another universe, after falling into a black hole, these two big brains trying to figure out how they can get out of here. They believe that they have figured out a way to get out of here. As they activate the button, this is go home or die trying. That's what jumps us over to the astral plane. We have Jean Grey fighting against Nightmare. Nightmare seeking revenge against the Omega level mutant. And Jean Grey is giving him a beatdown. She is laying down the hate. She tells him to release the BROOD, because when he had severed most of them from the hive mind, they reverted back to their original form. They rallied and they got new leaders. We see all of this taking place in the pages of Captain Marvel. But Nightmare lets it be known that he holds no sway over them. All he did was simply free them, and they did their own thing. Jean Grey knows that he is not lying. She knows that her powers are suited in a much better fight somewhere else. Nightmare, he may have an issue. He may be fighting by proxy using these creatures. And so she's gonna do the same thing. Touching him on the head, she wakes up all the souls that he has preyed on. And she is letting these souls know that Nightmare is on the menu. As these souls pull him down, this fight is definitely not over, but it is for today. She does give a warning, saying that she never tries to kill, but she can do so without effort. If Nightmare ever attacks again, she will snap every atom in his body, and he will exist only in books on magic. Before he goes, Nightmare does say that I promise you, what is one will be two by the end of the day. And then you still have to watch the fall of your kind. It appears that Nightmare knows something that the others do not. But then we have Magic and Broo showing up. Broo truly believes that he can save his species. And so Magic, she takes them out of here, takes them to the X-Men. The X-Men, they are deep in space with a cargo full of alien refugees. As Wolverine and Synch watch all of these refugees, seeing if any of them need assistance, it is quick to see that they have all been infected. The BROOD had put eggs in every single one of these refugees. They were all a weapon. This was all a trap. As our heroes quickly find themselves outnumbered, outgunned, they are doing their best to protect the bulkhead, and Cyclops is more than ready to fly into a star if that is absolutely necessary. This is where Synch says that he's got this, that he is going to clear out the ship. And in that moment, Synch remembers standing beside Polaris, how she smelled of espresso and anxiety. And a moment later, her powers became his. The bulkheads, they give way with a single thought of his mind. We see the back of the ship blow open, and all of the infected, they fly out into space. The void swallows the dead and dying in silence. The only sound is the anguish of the X-Men. They had come to rescue these people, only to see that the inevitable end was the X-Men killing them. And with Synch and Talon just down on their knees, really beating themselves up over what just happened. Cyclops and the others, they stare and they are in disbelief. Not only because the innocent lives that were lost, because of Sync truly displaying this amount of power, being able to call upon Polaris's abilities in an instant, just by a memory. Taking us over to Forge and Penance. They have sent out an emergency broadcast. They have jumped back to their universe, and now they are looking for anybody that might give them a ride home. With Jean and Magic asking, "What are you guys doing here? And why are you in a decapitated celestial head?" Penance simply says that space is weird, and they don't know what Krakoa is going to do with this giant celestial head. But now they got some new real estate. Magic teleporting all of them onto the X-Men ship. The X-Men currently listening to Psylocke sending out the message from Captain Marvel and her crew. And Cyclops, what he wants to do is kill the Brood once and for all. Now Broo obviously saying that you can't do this, but if you look right out the window, you see dead alien refugees. This is because of the Brood. Broo told them that he was going to have control, that things would be better, but he wasn't able to keep control. And now innocent lives have suffered because of it. Cyclops is saying, it is time to finally put this species down. Jean Grey, trying to be the voice of reason, turns to Cyclops and says that it's genocide then. But that's not how Cyclops is seeing it, telling her not to equate doing what we're about to do with genocide. The Brood represent an existential threat to all life. At what point do we consider ourselves complacent if Broo loses control of all his pets again? Jean says then we step in and we do what we're doing now. But Cyclops is concerned about the lives that would be lost when that happens. How many more dead do we have to count before we finally decide that this species is too dangerous? And he reminds her how they dealt with Cordyceps Jones. This is where Jean Grey rips off the visor of Cyclops, tells him that she is holding his powers back. She wants to see his face, and she wants him to say what he is thinking, so that they all can hear it. He says that he thinks wiping out the Brood is a great idea, and she says, "How very human of you." She goes on to say that Broo and her can gather the ones that they can control. When Broo goes to try and say something to Cyclops, he says not now, that our friends are in trouble. We're going to fight alongside them, and don't dare anybody try to stop us from killing the ones that have separated from your hive mind. Penance is going to take Cyclops' father back to the healing gardens. Magic will be taking the rest of them to the fight. This is where Forge telepathically communicates with Jean Grey, saying that the ones you can save, he has created a safe, empty bit of real estate, and it is currently in orbit around Jupiter. After everybody is left, Broo does wonder, was Cyclops right? And while Jean says not always and not today, Broo fears that he might be. But Broo will die to prove him wrong, that they will have their redemption. And Jean says that this is a very noble goal, telling him to direct the ones that he can control so that they can fight alongside them. They will save as many as they can, but to steal himself. Because the ones that are separated from the hive mind, they will fall today. And you must hide away with your Brood. You must become xenophobic. Because if you truly love your kind, you must shelter in place for health and safety of everyone. And if you do this, you will remain safe on nowhere. And while Broo says thank you and he could never repay her, Jean knows that this may be true, but it doesn't mean that he can't pay kindness forward. He spoke of redemption earlier, and she doesn't know what that means for the Brood, but she does hope that they find a way to earn it, because it will not be easy. But if she can come to peace with what she has done as the Phoenix, then there is hope for them as well. And that will be the end of this issue. This story will finish out in the pages of Captain Marvel issue number 49. And there is a lot going on here. This was a lot of fun though. So who do you side with when it comes to this argument? Do you side with Cyclops or do you side with Jean Grey? I think initially, I truly do want to side with Cyclops. This species is dangerous. It took someone like Nightmare very easily going into the dream of Broo and disconnecting him from the hive mind. In doing this, hundreds upon thousands of people have fallen. Planets have fallen. At what point do you recognize that these guys are a parasite? Because it's a species that you cannot reason with. It is a species that does not listen or care. It has no borders or walls. It goes from planet to planet, killing and decimating everybody and everything. It has no room for democracy, for compromise. It has no room for sympathy or mercy. And while Broo does believe that he could save his people, Cyclops brings up the best point. What happens when you lose control again? But Jean Grey does bring up some good points. From her own personal experience as the Phoenix, the destruction that she has done. With Cyclops' logic, they should have killed Jean Grey, but she was able to find redemption. She was able to try and right the wrongs of her past. And while the Phoenix and the Brood are not the same in the slightest bit, they have both done horrible and regrettable things. And I also want to point out the very subtle aspect of Penance and Forge both going to another universe, ending up in a Celestial's head and bringing that head back to their universe right outside of Jupiter. And now this looks like it may be the safe haven for the Brood, a location where they can sit for the rest of their days. I'm very interested to see if we're gonna do any more diving into Nowhere. But let me know what you guys think. What side of the aisle do you fall on? Do you agree with Cyclops? Should we wipe out this species? Or do you agree with Jean Grey? Do they deserve a second chance? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with the X-Men, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. If you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.